Hey, this is Irene. I just want to touch on a little bit of media manipulation that I saw surrounding this Woodward book because everybody that he quotes in the book is essentially saying that they've never said any of the stuff that he claims that they said. And how the media is basically trying to play everybody like they're dumb. I always say this to you guys. They think you're stupid. They genuinely think you guys are retarded. And this is a perfect example of how stupid they think you are. So here we have Bob Woodward. He comes on. First of all, I just want to touch on something stupid he said. So he said that the main job of the President of the United States was to prevent World War III. And I thought that was interesting because I could have sworn that the job of our president was not to prevent a war that we can't really stop. Like, the world is a big place and America doesn't have control over everybody. But I was pretty sure our president's job was to serve our country first. But no, according to Bob Woodward, that's not the president's job. The president's job is to prevent World War III, first and foremost. Take a listen.
In one National Security Council meeting, he's so worked up about how much money we are spending with troops, American troops abroad in South Korea or in Europe, and he thinks we're being cheated. And finally, the Secretary of Defense, Mattis, when Trump is, why are we doing this? What do we get out of it? Mattis says, we're trying to prevent World War III. Because Mattis, at this point, is so frustrated, has to communicate and tell the president, and this is a year into office, this is not the first week, literally has to tell him, we're trying to prevent World War III. Now, can you imagine the secretaries of defense we've had, say Bob Gates, having to tell George W. Bush or Barack Obama that actually our job is to prevent World War III. They knew that. That's the core, probably the number one responsibility of the president.
Yeah, okay, so now that we've established what our president's job is, let's establish what Bob Woodward didn't have when he wrote this book. So first and foremost, he quotes a lot of people in the book, and all of those people are saying that they never said the things that he's claiming they said. Now, when asked if he had spoken to any of these people, he said no, because essentially they all refused to talk to him, especially when they found out it was about a book. Let him tell you in his own words, and then I'm going to come back with some of my thoughts.
Bob, you've heard all the denials from the people, from the president all the way down. The president effectively been calling this book a work of fiction. Defense Secretary Mattis, Chief of Staff Kelly, Gary Cohen, although his was less full-throated perhaps than some of the other ones.
There's no throat at all.
There's no throat at all. He said, this book does not accurately portray my experience at the White House, but didn't specifically deny the stories you lay out in some detail, including with quotes. The latest is from Governor Chris Christie, the former governor of New Jersey. He ran the transition, and you quote the President of the United States as saying that Christie was jinxing the president's campaign at the time and, in fact, was stealing money from the campaign. Chris Christie came out pretty strongly and said this just didn't happen. He said these were leaks from Steve Bannon. He went on to say that Bob Woodward and his team didn't even reach out to me for standard fact-checking. Did you reach out to Governor Christie?
I've reached out to absolutely everyone. This is at a time when they were putting the word out in the White House, don't talk to anybody for a book, don't talk to Woodward. I did my due diligence on this, but you would call people and they'd say, oh, is this for a book? And cabinet officers, well, yes, it is for a book. Well, I'm sorry, we can't talk to you. Or somebody would say, yeah, I'll talk to you in a clandestine way.
Yeah. So to me, it sounds like he has an anonymous source, which is convenient. I have an anonymous source that says that Bob Woodward is full of crap. That person will go unnamed. But he says he has an anonymous source, or source says, but he has no ability. He was not able to really vet the quotes that he made because those people refused to talk to him. So he's just taking his anonymous source as being the law, even though everybody he quoted in his book absolutely says that he's lying. Of course, anonymous has a different meaning for Bob Woodward, because when he's asked about if the source is anonymous, he denies it. And then when he said, oh, it's just anonymous to the readers, he denies that. And then he redefines anonymous, which was an interesting sleight of hand that I was pretty fascinated with. Go ahead and check that out.
People told me, oh yeah, I heard so-and-so say that, but off the record. Well, when I did this, I was able to not take anything off the record. It was, people would, in the 8th hour of a series of interviews say, I'd like to do this off the record. I'd say no.
So it was on the record, just anonymous.
Yeah, well, it's not anonymous. I mean, I know who it is. The situation is
anonymous to the reader, though.
Well, the source, but not
right.
the information.
Right.
That at 2 o'clock on Tuesday, July 17th, these people gathered in the White House, and this happened.
Yeah, so anonymous means something totally different. Apparently citing dates and times, but not being able to say who said this happened, makes it not anonymous. The reality is he's written a book that nobody can corroborate. That's the reality. And he's banking on his history with a former president to make him credible. But at the end of the day, everybody he mentioned in his book denies that they said what they said. He has his own creative reasons. He says it's self-preservation. That's why they're denying it. But I could say it's self-preservation, and that's why he's denying it. Do you know what I mean? Like, because what is he going to say? Yeah, I lied. Yeah, I made it up. No, I have no way to say that this information was vetted. I'm purely taking this anonymous source at their word that they're being honest when, 20 other people say that that person's lying. So I just find it interesting. I never cared two craps about his book. When people do things for profit, it's really hard to know where they stand genuinely. But I think more importantly, what was really disturbing to me was the redefinition of anonymous, was the redefinition of the presidency, was, the attempt to literally sit there and admit that your book has no vetting, that you've not spoken to any of the people that you've quoted, and that you did use all anonymous sources. So basically we're just taking your word and these imaginary people, their word that these things happened. Admitting all that, but still expecting your book to hold the level of validity as a book with open sources and actually vetted content where you did speak to the people who you're quoting. It's really fascinating to me, but people are holding on to this book as if it's law. And or I shouldn't say people are holding on to the book as if it's law. The media is trying to push the book as if it's law. And in reality, what we have are literally a handful of people, a couple of people that got fired, a couple of people who are writing books for profit that are being printed through, now, because remember, all the media is pretty much owned by the same people. So the same people who are printing the news articles, having the news on TV, and printing these books, they're all the same people. I mean, different names, like the publishing company has a name, the newspaper has a name, the news station has a name, but they're all the same people. So strangely, it's not shocking that this uniformity exists and that they push their own materials. They push their own writers, they push their own newscasters, they push their own rhetoric as if it's true. And that's why I say they think you guys are dumb. Like, am I the only one? Like, I thought this was common knowledge that the book publishers, the newspapers, and the media and the radio, the television media and the radio media were all owned by the same people. Like, it's like, what, you can count them, isn't like on one hand? or something. Like, there's so few. It's such a narrow pipeline of information that it's shocking anybody is listening to this. And yet people are listening to it. It's actually pretty disturbing. So this sleight of hand by the media, I love that this happened so that I could make this video. But it's just really important that we think for ourselves. And I'm not for any media at all. I think we really have to step away from this and start dealing with each other. Because when people have an agenda, you know, they can't be trusted. They can't be trusted. They're, you know, these people have a dog in this race. You know, they have a reason to root for the home team and boo the other guy. And so we really have to give scrutiny to these kind of things and not just get caught up in the mouthpiece that's in front of the screen. And that's why, you know, I even tell you guys, again, my opinions are just my opinions, but you need to vet this information for yourself. Gain your own opinions, truly gain your own opinions, not because you listen to endless commentary on a subject, but because you've done the research, because you've looked into this stuff yourself, because those opinions are your opinions and not just regurgitation of the opinion of the person that you felt both spoke to your spirit. You know, not just that. So I think that's really essential and important. And with that said, I'm going to get out of here. Maybe I will or maybe I won't close with one of his stupid statements. We'll see how that goes up in editing. And I will talk to you guys a little bit later. Bye-bye.